Well, Tom, here we are at Sell Faster. Okay, in a lot of cases, you've got the lead, you've done the presentation, you've won the listing, and you're getting it ready to either go to auction or sell by private treaty. You need to give the vendor confidence to take the offer.
Yeah.
And get the right reserve price if it's going to auction.
Yes.
And you need to give the buyer confidence to put an offer in.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of people forget to use their data in this case. They might be giving buyer feedback, open for inspection feedback, but one of the things that we do is have valuation. What do you think about using data afterwards? How important do you think that is?
You've got to have crucial conversations with vendors. And what data allows you, Joe, is to be able to sit the way a doctor sits in front of a patient with an x-ray and puts it up and says, look, it appears you've got a fracture in your ankle. What a good real estate agent does is take out the data and say, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, when I'm looking at your property, I begin to realise that you are no longer sitting in the market, you're sitting on top of the market. People are using your property as a reference point to buy other properties. That's how you use data.
Absolutely.
And it's very powerful. I also use the data when I'm getting a vendor to realign their price. And I'll say, Joe, as you can see to the vendor, I know that you're wanting 1.2, but I'm letting you know the buyers and the valuers will be looking at this data.
That's right. It doesn't matter what market we're in. I always see listings that either pass in at auction or are on the market for too long. And we know what happens when you get to week 4, week 5, it's horrible. Our data shows it just falls off a cliff. We've got a great report called the Market Compare Report, which tracks the days on market. We've got the valuation report, we've got the sales history report. All of these things are just going to strengthen your case. Let's have a look at some of those reports and how you actually get to them and use them, and importantly, structure them so they tell your story. I'm going to use 3 key reports that allow me to really position and provide information to the vendor to help them make a decision to take the offer, get the reserve price right, and get it back in the market. So the first report we're going to look at is the valuation report. One of the problems with any algorithm is that we don't know the extent of the renovations, the extent of the attributes. So the way this works is it goes out until it gets enough data and then creates a range that we think it could be. So when we look at this, there's a couple of important things. One is your expertise will position the property within this range, and it helps you then position the vendor of where that range is as well. I think when we're looking at valuation reports, I would have one of these on file every time, because there's nothing like a third-party report telling them where their position is. So this report allows you to print it out, take it with you, and reposition the client to make sure that they very well understand where their properties sit in the market. The next way we use it is in front of buyers as well, because if we have high confidence in the high range, it allows the buyer to understand where they fit and what the market is telling them. And it gives them confidence that if they bid in an auction or they put an offer in on a private treaty, they're going to be able to get the loan across the line because the banks will approve it, because that's the data that they're seeing as well. So we can download that, or we can print it out and take it with us to get that price variation that you need to get the property in the market. Next, some of the key reports that you'll use. So I'm going to bring up Coleroy and run the search. And what I want to do is use the sales history. I know there's 94 sales in Coleroy. Now, I'm not going to refine anything. What I'm going to do is just select all of the suburb and create a sales history report from this suburb. Now, the reason I'm coming to the sales history report is I'm interested in the summary, and I'll show you what I mean. We're just going to go straight across to the summary, and this is a really nice report. It allows someone to see in each of the categories the lowest, the highest, the median, and the average. You've already shown comparables, but what this does is allows them to see where that sits. We can then, of course, narrow down some of the comparables again and just remind them on the comparables. Next report is the market compare report. Now, this report counts the days on market. So depending on your marketplace, you'll see properties coming in the market, coming down in price, and days on market. Now, you will pick the properties that tell your story. So I'm going to use this as one that's sitting outside of the market, started high, still getting down and not selling. One that was successfully sold, possibly you'll pop that in there as well. And you'll see that you can start to get an idea of price guides and what's going on. So here's one. You'll see the price guides coming in, what it actually sold for, and the discounting. So around the 880 to 920, the actual sales price being 880 at the low end of the range. So this is a really insightful report. In a hot market, you don't need to worry so much, but in a market that starts to slow, you'll see this tells a fantastic story of where properties are positioned and how the price tends to drop quite dramatically when you stay on the market for too long, and you'll see this percentage changing each time. You can also print this report off and get the average days on the market for your suburb, and you'll see here in that summary again giving you the average days for the type of price ranges that you're using. So you'll see here the average days of 69, again the type of properties that they are and the listing ranges that they are, and then listings by type, and then the price ranges and the average days within that price range. So this really tells a story that properties in this price range tend to stay on the market for quite a while. If they're priced correctly, they'll go quite quickly. So what I've done is I've used three core reports. We saw the valuation report, we've used the sales history, and we've used the market compare to reposition, educate your vendor, and get them to the market.
Great, Tom. Well, look, I'm really looking forward to the next module, which is influencing.
Yeah.
And that's all about working our existing database and actually what sort of content can we use to engage our existing clients.